What's up, beautiful world? This is TNA, Top Notch Audio, and welcome to another episode of r/pettyrevenge. Our first story will be, you want to deprive our whole culdesac of sleep for years with loud music in the middle of the night? Let us be your alarm clock in the morning. And then, all smoke and windows. Followed by, make me wait for my refund? I'll make you wait to close off the case. And finally, trick my mom into finally admitting that my cooking was good. If this is your first time listening, remember to hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner. If this is not your first time, welcome back. Enjoy the stories. And this next story is posted by u/wolfmutt. You want to deprive our whole culdesac of sleep for years with loud music in the middle of the night? Let us be your alarm clock in the morning. I'm bad at titles, excuse me. Since we were but small babs, our neighbors, their kids, and their friends have had this lovely habit of either driving into or straight tearing into the neighborhood with no regard for the safety and well-being of themselves or the rest of us, and blasting pop and rap music from their cars as they sit there, idling and waiting for whomever they were picking up or dropping off. No surprise, they took their sweet time, and sometimes no one was picked up or maybe even dropped off. So you can imagine the pure, overwhelming joy we experienced when we found out some of the drivers only came into the cul-de-sac to lean out of the window to briefly talk to someone, all while that their music practically rattled the foundation of our houses. Our dad at the time, and still, can work late into the night and early into the morning, sometimes coming home in the middle of the night, and at other times not returning until later than next morning. So you can imagine what he had to deal with. Poor dad. However, then the day arrived. Our mom had to leave relatively early for something. My memory is a mashed Pop-Tart, sorry. And dad was not home yet. Sick and tired after so many nights and morning, having been woken up by or kept awake. It was quiet now and we were alone. It was time. Now, we were still exhausted, but we rarely had opportunities where we were alone and less likely to get grounded by our parents, as they were not home. And so, as the sun began to peek over the trees like a Midwestern version of the opening to The Lion King, we carried a radio out of the house and stood at the end of the guilty neighbor's driveway, cranking up the volume as high as it would go, put in our chosen weapon, a cassette tape of bagpipe music, and flicked the music on and gently wakened the whole house, and probably every other neighborhood for several blocks, with the song of our people. It was not our intention to involve innocent people, but we were pretty young and hadn't completely thought the whole plan through. Our lack of a complete plan was made very apparent as the front door flew open and outran the parents. Our terror-filled little screams followed us back home as we thought we would literally die. As soon as we were able to get inside and lock the door, we turned off the music, stuffed the radio away, and promptly pretended to be sleeping. Eventually, we did fall asleep, but were woken up by our own parents. No surprise, but the neighbors were all not too happy with us, though only the one family snitched. We got in so much trouble for that, grounded for weeks, but it was worth it. While the cars kept coming into the cul-de-sac at all hours, they no longer played music. We had won. And this next story is posted by u/automatic_promise_58. All smoke and windows. When my husband and I were newlyweds, we lived in an interesting apartment. We were on the second level, and the downstairs neighbor's back door was right below our bedroom window. We got married in the spring and got new neighbors in the middle of summer. It was usual for us to open the window in the evening to let the cool air in. Unfortunately, the new neighbors were smokers. The building did not allow smoking inside, so they would step out to right below our window and light up. I despise the smell of cigarettes, and my husband has asthma, so leaving the window open wasn't a good option. We asked them more than once if they would move to the corner of the building, to no avail. They would always agree, but within hours, they were back. Now, we were the kind of newlyweds that everyone jokes about, with the squeaky bed and all. Trying to be nice, we always tried to keep our activities as quiet as possible when the neighbors were home. One night, we were getting frisky when the smell of smoke assaults us. Normally, I would close the window and fume quietly, but dang it, we were newlyweds and we were doing what newlyweds do, and I really didn't want to stop for their rudeness. So instead, we just didn't keep ourselves quiet. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, I didn't really think it was until about 10 minutes later, there's a knock at the door. I open the door in my robe and the officer asks if everything is okay. They want to talk to me outside. The downstairs neighbors have reported that they believe my husband is being violent. Of course, I blushed like crazy and explained that no, I'm just fine, and what they heard was probably the headboard and mattress. Cue petty revenge. I asked the nice officers if they would be so kind as to report to the callers that they have checked and all is well. I stood and listened as the poor officer relayed my assurances that if they hadn't been standing under the window smoking, they never would have heard a thing. From that day forward, they smoked around the corner of the building. And this story is posted by u/Welsh Rare Dit. Make me wait for my refund? I'll make you wait to close off the case. About 8 years ago, I moved out of my folks' place and into my first home. As a newbie, I was thrown into the lovely world of utilities companies and their arcane Byzantine processes for creating new accounts. One service that was vital for my new place was phone and broadband. For this, I looked around, and despite a lot of difficulties with them at work, I went for a package from the largest provider in the country. If I say this company was British and I was buying telecoms from them, you should guess who I mean, mainly due to the free gifts they were offering if you signed up. Gift cards for a large supermarket, great if you're moving in somewhere. Fast forward a couple of years and my initial contract came to an end, and I decided to move over to another supplier, now unfortunately bored into the big evil corp mentioned above, but still many times better. I knew that I was out of contract at this point and wouldn't be charged anything for leaving, so happily signed up for the new service. This is where things went a bit awry. The changeover happened as expected mid-month in July. A quick reconfig of my router setting and I was done and saving a bit of money every month. Being the reasonably tidy administrator I am, I canceled Big Telco's direct debit from my bank account after this point, as I should no longer be charged, and I didn't want them to retain with authority for taking payment from my account. Unfortunately, Big Telco's billing system didn't seem to get the memo that my services had transferred, and not only did they send me a bill for £52.07 for phone and broadband they didn't supply, but as I'd canceled their direct debit, they charged me a £7.50 late payment fee on top of that. I, of course, immediately complained about this, and my complaints got escalated up the chain until I was assigned a complaint handler at Big Telco. Eventually, after much prodding and complaining, Big Telco worked out that instead of me owing them £52.08, it turns out they owed me £17.31. Buoyed by this news, I planned on spending my £17.31 on beer, chips, crisps, and whatever else a single man needs to survive in this workaday world. After a few days, I get a check in the post from Big Telco. The problem being that this check was for £9.81 and not my outstanding £17.31. It seems that the billing department hadn't cleared the late payment charge from my account, so the check was £7.50 light, which meant yet another call to the handler at Big Telco. She eventually managed to send out a second check for the missing £7.50. At this point, I decided a bit of petty revenge was in order. The complaint handler at Big Telco had asked, after the checks had been dispatched, if they could now close the complaint. Not being in a particularly charitable mood, I said I let them close the complaint only after both checks had cleared and the funds were in my account. Now, I wasn't petty enough to pay them in separately, but it still took 3 to 5 days for the funds to clear, and as it was the end of the month, that would be one less successful completion on their books for that month. And this story is posted by u/throwra-barber. Tricked my mom into finally admitting that my cooking was good. I've been enrolled in a cooking school for over a year, and my mom, she's never been supportive because I dropped out of a nursing program to get into a cooking school. She's always made snide comments about how I should have been a nurse or a lawyer, or how I'll only ever be a subservient housewife with this, and when I do make something, she always criticizes it. Like she's Gordon Ramsay or something. Oh, too much salt. It's undercooked. It looks like crap. Even though pretty much everyone else says the opposite. She's looking for any little thing she can critique about my cooking. She keeps telling me I can't cook and need to get into a real career. I've cooked 3-course dinners for the family and they always get positive reviews, except for her. She had a party for her work friends. I made a whole tray of my specialty take-on homemade meatballs, a recipe I conceptualized myself, my signature dish. Everyone kept going back and getting more, so many that they ran out. I asked Mom what she thought. She said they were drunk, they couldn't taste anything. So I figured if I wanted to get her to compliment my cooking, I'd have to trick her. I cooked her a meal, one of her favorites from scratch, her biggest weakness that she can never resist. Dressed it up to look professional and put it in a generic to-go box and had my boyfriend take video of me preparing it start to finish. I called her and told her that my boyfriend and I were eating at this diner that doesn't exist, made up a fake name for it and everything. I told her they had her favorite meal and asked if she wanted us to bring her one. Of course, she said yes. I brought the dish and told her more about the fake diner. She started eating it and complimented how good it was, how she wanted to go there and get another one. After she was almost through with the meal, I asked her for her honest opinions so we could write a review on Yelp. She went on for 10 minutes about how great it was, and then I sprung it on her that I cooked it. Her tone changed. She put the fork down and said she was lying, that it tasted like crap. My boyfriend showed her the video. She Googled the restaurant and it didn't show up. She started pointing out flaws with the meal, like how there was too much sauce and it was really spicy and burnt her mouth. I asked her why she almost finished the whole thing if it was so spicy. She didn't say anything, so I just asked her if she was ready to admit it. She said no. So we left, but I spotted her eating it from the other room. I asked her again, and she laughed and finally told me yes, that I'm a good chef. So after a year of doubting I was a good chef and holding my dreams back, she finally admitted it. Oh man, those were 4 great stories. To hear the best stories of the week, click on the video in the top left-hand corner. To hear more Reddit stories all related to what you just heard, click on the video in the top right-hand corner. And if you have not already done so, click on the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once again, this is TNA, Top Notch Audio. Thank you for listening and have yourself a great day.